Good evening. You're watching AWANI Tonight with me, Saraya Mia. The Election Commission EC expects up to 70% of the electorate in Kemaman to vote in tomorrow's by-election. However, EC Chairman Tan Sri Abdul Ghani Saleh says this will depend on the rainy weather that has hit the East Coast.
Cuaca dipahamkan, pihak kiri cuaca meramalkan besok ada sedikit hujan. Tapi insyaAllah lah di kawasan Kemaman ni kita berdoa supaya tidak ada berlaku banjir ataupun tekanan air lah. Jadi kita berharap sangat-sangat kepada semua pengundi-pengundi di Kemaman dapat keluar mengundi dan kita mengharapkan proses keluar mengundi ini dapat ditingkatkanlah kepada lebih kurang 70%.
According to the Malaysian Meteorological Department, rain is expected to continue throughout Saturday in Kemaman. The by-election is being held after the Terengganu Election Court annulled the victory of PAS candidate Cik Alias Hamid in the 15th general election. A total of 49 polling centres in Kemaman will open at 8 a.m. tomorrow, with results expected to be announced around 9 p.m. A total of 121 suspected victims of job scams, mostly Malaysians, have been evacuated from Myanmar. According to the Foreign Ministry, they had been stranded due to the conflict between the military and rebel groups in the north of the country. In a statement, the ministry said the group arrived at Kuala Lumpur International Airport at 3:24 a.m. on a specially arranged flight from Kunming, China. The evacuation mission was carried out through the Myanmar-China border since Thursday morning. It comes amid ongoing fighting in northern Myanmar after an alliance of ethnic armed groups launched an offensive in late October. They have since taken control of several towns and military outposts near the country's border with China, disrupting trade. The Immigration Department has set up a special task force to tackle the issue of foreign tourists overstaying in Malaysia. Department Director General Dato' Ruslin Juso says the task force aims to thoroughly investigate the entry and exit records of foreigners. The task force comprises various quarters, including the Passport Director, KLIA Entrance Director, and Visa and Foreign Workers Director. It will work to get an accurate figure on the number of foreign tourists currently overstaying their visas within the next 2 months. Last year, the Home Ministry revealed that more than 1.2 million visitors from China had overstayed between 2018 and 2021. The U equals U campaign conveys that people living with HIV who are on effective treatment and have achieved an undetectable viral load cannot transmit the virus to others. Bruce Richmond, the founding executive director of Prevention Access Campaign, discusses the significance of U equals U in HIV prevention and treatment.
It enables people living with HIV to lead full and healthy lives just like anyone else. I've been living with HIV for 20 years, and I never imagined that 20 years ago when I was diagnosed that I could, just by taking medication every day to stay healthy, that I also can't pass on HIV to anyone. I can live, I can love, I can have children just like everybody else. And it's important to note that this message is widely supported by scientific evidence. It's endorsed by the CDC, by the World Health Organization, by ministries of health around the world, including Malaysia's Ministry of Health, have endorsed this message. And the message has really contributed to changing global perceptions and policies around HIV. So we're seeing governments, international organizations, and other stakeholders recognizing the importance of the U equals U message and improving access to testing, treatment, and care, reducing stigma and discrimination, and preventing new infections by incorporating U equals U into their country and global guidelines.
Bruce also highlighted the challenges of promoting the U equals U message worldwide.
So despite the World Health Organization and the CDC and the Ministry of Health, including here in Malaysia, that support the message and the science, there are still misunderstandings and misconceptions about HIV. There are still challenges with old ways of thinking about HIV that are not based in current science. We need to educate that HIV is not an easily transmitted condition. It's not possible to get HIV from a handshake or a hug or by sharing forks and knives. These are old, outdated ways of thinking. And then despite the overwhelming science and support around U equals U, misconceptions still exist that people who have an undetectable viral load can still transmit the virus to others through sexual contact. And this misconception often leads to stigma and discrimination towards people living with the virus, which makes it difficult to spread awareness, and that discourages people from getting tested from HIV. So to tackle these persistent issues, we use various communication strategies to educate people and communities about U equals U and spread the message that people living with HIV who are on effective treatment cannot transmit the virus to others.
We'll take a quick break. Stay tuned for more.
Dua beradik dibesarkan oleh keluarga angkat penuh konflik.
Ni kosong mahal ni. Tempat aku belajar tu banyak anak orang kaya.
Macam ni ke anak yang dibesarkan selama ni?
Sekarang ni masa kita balas jasa nanti mana?
Mencari jawapan kepada tragedi lalu.
Satu hari saya akan jadi macam tu.
Angan-angan boleh tapi kena...
Faham ni? Sebabkan dia ni, mak kita tak salah tu mati. Aku janji kita akan dapat keadilan tu, Mak.
Jangan lupa janji di Astro Mia dan Astro Go.
At least 14 Palestinians were killed in Israeli bombardments as the military resumed its assault on Gaza after the truce expired. Israel dropped leaflets telling people in parts of already bombarded southern Gaza to evacuate, signaling an expanding offensive. The 7-day truce, which began last Friday and was extended twice, allowed the exchange of dozens of hostages in Gaza for hundreds of Palestinian prisoners and facilitated the entry of aid into Gaza. International mediators, including Qatar, Egypt, and the U.S., had pushed for another extension of the truce, which expired at 7 a.m. local time. Britain's King Charles III also met Israel's President Isaac Herzog today on the sidelines of COP28 UN Climate Summit in Dubai. Meanwhile, the Qassam Brigades, Hamas's armed wing, said it had attacked southern Israeli cities of Ashkelon, Sderot, and Beersheba with rocket barrages. As world leaders convene in Dubai for the 2023 United Nations Climate Change Conference, or COP28, Olivier Wendon, Vice President and CEO from the Foundation of Prince Albert II of Monaco, outlines key areas of discussion everyone can expect during the conference happening now till 12 December.
But the expectations for the COP28, which is taking place in the Emirates, is pretty high. It's of course a big milestone in the international agenda to discuss mitigation, the cut in the carbon emissions, and we are all the states in the world, very far from reaching the targets to keep under 1.5 degrees temperature rise as it was agreed with the Paris Agreement. Very far from that. So mitigation, of course, is central, is key. We must continue to push, but it's also a moment to start addressing the problem of adaptation. We can definitely feel everywhere around the globe, all around the year, the impact of climate change, which is not natural. It's really led by human activities, but it's accelerating with droughts, with floods, with storms that are all increasing in intensity. So we have to now start reflecting on adaptation, mainly coastal cities. And again, there's no border. A lot of coastal cities and big megalopolis and capitals are built by the sea and will suffer sea level rise and all the problem of resilience and adaptation. And the third point that will be discussed thoroughly during COP28 is, of course, the problem of finance. Finance for the global south, the support, the relationship with the North Hemisphere, and financing the transition between the existing model that totally relies on thermal oil and gas solutions towards renewable energy and a more sustainable way of producing, living and traveling.
King Charles III has urged world leaders to make the COP28 climate summit a turning point in the fight against global warming. In his first major climate address as Britain's monarch, he stressed that alarming tipping points are becoming increasingly evident worldwide.
Some important progress has been made, but it worries me greatly that we remain so dreadfully far off track, as the Global Stocktake report demonstrates so graphically. The dangers are no longer distant risks. I have seen across the Commonwealth and beyond countless communities which are unable to withstand repeated shocks, whose lives and livelihoods are laid waste by climate change.
Following a year of record temperatures, the pressure is on for COP28 to accelerate action to limit rise of global temperatures. On Thursday, delegates adopted a new fund to help poor countries cope with costly climate disasters. However, countries remain divided over the future of fossil fuel, the burning of which is the main cause of climate change. In other news, New Zealand has announced a ban on mobile phones in schools across the country. This comes as the new government of Conservative Prime Minister Christopher Luxon seeks to reverse the country's declining literacy rates. Luxon had vowed to ban phones in schools within his first 100 days in office, adopting a policy that has been tried with mixed results in the US, UK and France. He said the move would stop disruptive behavior and allow students to concentrate. New Zealand schools used to boast some of the best literacy scores in the world. But literacy levels have plummeted to the point where researchers have declared a crisis in education, with more than a third of 15-year-olds barely literate. It is estimated that only 20% of Malaysians with a mental health issue will seek professional care, with social stigma a major factor for this. We speak to member of the Selangor Public Health Advisory Council, Dr. Muhammad Farhan Rusli, and former gymnast Farah Ann Abdul Hadi for their thoughts in the matter.
Because of a lot of the taboo that's coming in, people don't ask you. Or if you want to talk about it, or if you want to mention it, people will say, I think there's something wrong with you, you shouldn't talk about this, you shouldn't come to me. Even some of the parents will say, I think we were just talking about it just now, that this is perhaps you're not praying enough, you know, you're not close to God. That's why all these things are developing in your brain, all these things. So we wanted to break that barrier to access. So not everybody will get the chance, like Farah, to get access, you know, to have very good mental strength. So this type of initiatives that's being done by state is something that I hope will be replicated more on a national level, and I hope it grows. Yeah.
Farah Ann added that the awareness of mental health assistance accessibility starts from home.
Parents actually play a pivotal role in helping their children and themselves, because actually parents and people, they also need help. And really, if they do get the help, then that really trickles down to their children. As you were saying, like access, the ability for them to actually see, to help, it starts from the top. So when government initiatives go into like the kampung areas, rural areas, and they have that access, then it will help, because information then gets trickled. It may be slow. Things are never fast. It's very slow, but it's good work. And when they have that access, the abilities to see and to know that they can get help, then that will then trickle down to the children.
Catch the full conversation on It's About Youth tonight at 10:30 p.m. Now that wraps up AWANI Tonight. Thanks for watching. I'm Saraya Mia, and we'll see you soon.